Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Boundaries podcast. So this week it's just me and Loz, and we thought we would talk all things prep. So right from the beginning, all the way to stage. Obviously that's where you're going, because obviously there's a lot of people going through prep right now. Some of them right in the trenches, some of them proper digging deep now. So they're going to be facing a hell of a lot. But obviously, before we get started, we're going to do a rundown of our weeks because we love to. So how has your week been?
It's been pretty good, to be honest. It's been a week that's probably started off low and then got better.
Okay.
I think, like I mentioned it on the last podcast with Grace, that I was like, I just feel a bit funny. And first thing I kind of want to highlight is that everyone gets these weeks where things don't feel 100%.
Oh God, yeah.
And sometimes when I get those weeks, I really have to do like a bit of a mental reset, if that makes sense, because I think it's a lot more mental than it is physical. Like when I go into the gym and things don't feel quite right, it's like all in my head most of the time. So I feel better because I've taken like a bit of a step back. And at the moment with my training, I have actually reset a lot of things.
Okay.
And I feel so much better for that. Like I'm learning to really remove any pressure from my training, and just be like it's so easy said than done, but you get so wound up in wanting to progress something, but you really have to look back and think like, why am I even worried about the weight that's on there? At the end of the day, I need to take my muscle through like its full range.
As much stress.
Like, I don't care what the weight is on the bar. I want to feel like my muscles hurt when I leave the gym. So just every now and then, like I do have to do like a little bit of a reset with stuff like that, because it's very easy to get carried away, and I think a lot of people do as well. It's pretty common. So started off a bit funny, but feeling better now, feeling good. So
is it because you had a good session today?
Yeah, I did have a good session today, but that's because of those things. So I'm feeling good. How are you? You all right?
Good. Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm great, to be honest. I've had a bit of a weird week though, like a bit up and down, quite similar really, I guess. Just been like quite a few random things. Work is like very, very stressful at the minute. Like I'm having to like ram food down my throat, like
not ideal
when I can. Which like to some people will be like, oh yeah, well you're on prep, so like that's surely a good thing, because but it's not, because I still like to space my meals out a lot.
It's not good for your digestion, that at all.
No, it's not. So there's just been like quite a few, work's just been like very full on, but in a good way though. Like at the end of the day, like I'm learning so much still, and that is what I want in a job. Like I want to be constantly challenged. So I will never say that I hate that, but it's just been very, very busy. And obviously I had my first face-to-face posing sessions last weekend.
Oh yeah, mega.
So that was like really scary, because at the end of the day, I was just apprehensive as to how it was going to go. Right?
You find it easier actually being with people in person?
So much better. So much better. So much easier. Not even just to teach them, obviously, because I can move them then and there, but also just like we can just have a laugh, and just enjoy it as well. So that was really, really nice. But like very similar to you, I think I've had some really, really fucking sick sessions this week though. Like
your leg session was really good yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, like even though my mood hasn't been there completely, I've gone into a lot of my sessions thinking like, ready for it to be so shit, because I haven't felt great. But I definitely think that because of how I do approach my sets, like that allows me to almost take any emotion out of the subject. Like it doesn't matter how I do feel, I will almost just completely like ignore the facts, So, and it's meant that this week I would actually say my training is the best that it's ever been. And again, that's not necessarily because of weight that I'm moving. I'm not saying like I'm lifting fucking 40 kilo more than I was a couple of weeks back. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
But reps and weight are still definitely up, but it's more that feeling, that stability, like my form.
Yeah.
I did hack yesterday, and it's like Watson.
Oh. Oh no.
Yeah. So it like buries me every time, and I just really do struggle to get that pattern. But I hit a really good top set and back off yesterday. I think we're actually now that I've managed to kind of nail it, we're now gonna take it to any single sets. So
on that note, I just remembered, not yesterday, the other day. So I've taken out hacks. Well, not in one of my sessions, because I was literally doing the same rotation pretty much for legs. So I was doing Cybex every time. And one, I think I'm going to take the Cybex out and just do the Atlantis reverse banded, because it feels a lot better for me. I can get full depth. And also with the Cybex, because I have to put those pads on, my lower back is completely off the pad. So I don't get that stability in the machine to pull myself in. But anyway, so I'm gonna do the Atlantis hack, but I'm going to do a safety bar squat. So I did a safety bar squat.
Oh, that's exciting.
Session, and I just completely pissed all over the floor.
I was not expecting you to say that.
And that's just me. I just want to highlight, like, it happens to me a lot of the time as well when I pull. Like I just piss myself. Oh
my god.
It does happen to like quite a few people. I don't know if you've ever seen like powerlifters who literally just piss everywhere. I mean, it's not quite like that, but it does happen. And like I used to get really embarrassed about it. That's like a big thing. Like, it used to really like bother me. And I used to leave sets because I'd start to wee myself mid-rep. And then I was just like, honestly, Loz, like, just take the rep. Like, who cares if you piss yourself?
Yeah, so just
like, if it happens, I just let it happen, to be honest.
Yeah, let it happen. Just sit back on the floor and like bum shuffle around.
Yeah, but like AJ was spotting me. I did my last rep and I just pissed all over the floor, like right near his vibrance. I just racked it. I just looked around him and was like, oh.
So
that's all right. He cleaned
that's
it.
Cute. Oh. No, but that's sick though. Safety bar squats. I've never done them. So
yeah, I'm excited
have to let me know how they go.
Yeah.
What shoes are you wearing for that? Because
Vibrams. I use the Prime heel elevated wedge. I always like that for a barbell squat anyway. Just puts me in a better position and a bit more quad focus. So yeah. Sorry, I just thought I'd mention that because I was just thinking about the fact that I weighed myself. I was like, oh. Anyway, shall we dive into this episode? So I think, like, we've already said, but we want to cover this topic because it's nice to really hear people talk about the real ins and outs of it, because people can talk about, you know, the logistics of what you have to do when it comes to your training and nutrition, but there's a big like personal side of it and mental side of it and what you actually go through. So I think we're going to start at the start, aren't we? With like when you decide that you're going to do prep and when you actually start your prep and the kind of mental changes that you notice. Hannah, do you want to sort of like take that away? Like what do you notice when you first go on prep? Obviously you're on prep right now. Do you have a significant like mentality switch instantly, or do you feel as though you don't really notice much of a change?
So obviously my first prep and this prep are completely different, right? So my first prep, it was almost like a switch. Like I had to just almost completely flick that switch and be like, right, let's go. No, like complete focus.
Complete at the end of the day, lifestyle as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I was still training a hell of a lot and I was still eating quite well. I actually was losing weight like anyway. However, that whole like, okay, you will not have anything else extra. Like you won't lick a teaspoon after you've like weighed out X amount of grams. Like that kind of flick the switch kind of vibe. And also, you know, if you're just normal dieting, say if someone says like, oh, should we go out, and you go on a night out and you have a few drinks, you're like, oh well, alcohol will make you thin anyway, you know, try me out. But whereas obviously on prep you just don't do that. So I think this time round I was expecting the flick of the switch, and I'm still waiting because the off season has been so rigid anyway, really, that all it is that difference in calories. Like, I think the only difference that I have found is like now, for example, because I am a little bit more hungry, obviously, I'm like 1.4 thousand, 1,400 calories down from when I was in off season. So I am going to be hungry. So the only thing that I'm missing is that, like, oh, I could nibble right now.
Yeah. I think like I really didn't feel like I was on prep last year until I was like 12 weeks out or something. So I've been like dieting for like 10 weeks because I mean, I'm more flexible now in terms of I like to have off-plan meals. And if like my mum says, do you want to go out for breakfast? Like I'll go out with her and I'll swap my first meal for something else. But I was really, really, really rigid in my last off season. Like I didn't take off-plan meals like ever. I would never change like the seasoning. I would never change any kind of brand of anything I used. It was a bit like, it was way too obsessive. So like I went into my prep and I just didn't feel like I was prepping for quite a long time. And I almost think that I don't know, it messed with my head a little bit because I was like, I don't feel like I'm
You're not working hard enough.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything, and I'm not going to lose weight. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, here we go.
I have been obviously when I was having like those digestive issues, and I like didn't lose weight for like just over a week, so it's literally nothing to worry about. But at the time I was there like almost panicking, thinking like I'm not doing enough, like I could be doing more. Like I asked Cuba to drop my food because I was like, I'm not hungry enough, like I'm not working hard enough. But he rightly so, he was like, just wait. I've dropped 2 kilos this week and still on 2,400 calories and still only do.
It takes your body a while to kind of adapt to the deficit, I think, as well, which is why there's no need to like constantly change food. Like you could change food, then your weight wouldn't drop for like a week because it can take that long to just adapt to that change in calories. So makes complete sense. And like digestive wise as well, it takes so long. Like, do you know, like stuff sits in your digestive system for ages, especially when there's so many other things that come into play, like your time of the month, your sleep, your stress. They can all slow down the digestive system. And so like you could change something to improve your digestion. So like say you take isolate out or something and you're like, oh, I'm still having digestive issues the next day. It's like, yeah, of course you are. Like, give it a few days.
No, 100%. I think that's actually something that I did want to touch on, was because a lot of people had messaged me asking like, oh, what did you do to help your digestive issues, XYZ? Because I do think that a lot of people come across it within prep because your food is so not necessarily basic, but you get a lot of your sources like from whole foods, right? So you're quite sensitive, I feel, to a lot of certain products. So but I wanted to kind of touch on the fact that whatever works for some person may not work for you. And that's really important, because also your coach doesn't see absolutely everything that goes through your mouth. And like your coach also doesn't know anything that you don't necessarily tell him, right? So you can't just kind of give that responsibility to your coach to say like, right, I'm having digestive issues, you sort it. Like that doesn't work. You have to almost take yourself as a little experiment. You know what sources you've changed. So for me, all I changed was whey, but whey flavor, not even actual brand. But because of everything that's happening at the minute with like the EU, lots of, so I was talking to
it's different, like the new products.
So they're getting in so many different like new sources for all their kind of raw products, right? And they're not the same. So this new flavor that I'd got was obviously, it was still an isolate whey, but because of all the sweeteners that they'd been putting in it and just changed their actual direct protein source, it messed me up. But then that combined with sugar-free energy drinks, Flave drops that I was putting in like coffee and oats, etc. Like all these things like combined. So I just like stripped it all back. And now we're swimming. But yeah, so I think that I haven't this time round kind of felt that switch, but it's not necessarily a bad thing at the same time, because it just means that when I do need to push, then I can. And obviously that is something that we can touch on as well. Like, there are certain points within your prep that you do have to dig hard.
I think I find this really weird one, because it's such a hard thing to actually put into words, but I experienced some serious like changes in like my mentality throughout my whole prep. Like, it changed quite a few times, and it's really hard to explain how that changes you when you've not been through it, but it's like this weird experience that you've learned so much about how your brain works and everything. But like with my prep, I thought I was in prep way too much, in terms of like, I just overthought it, and I was like, I'm in prep, I need to do this. And it was like pressure like on my brain all the time, and I was almost like trying too hard. And I had to like take a bit of a step back when I was about like 3-4 weeks out. And I was kind of fortunate that I had people around me as well at that time to kind of tell me like, Loz, you going mental, chill out. And I had to really like sort my head out like proper. But I felt so much better like after that, and like going into my show, like those last 4 weeks of my prep, I felt the best I'd felt my whole prep, which is weird because for a lot of people it's the other way around. But I learned the majority of it throughout the start of my prep, and it built up to the point where I was like, take a step back, Loz. And I think it's like okay as well to be honest with yourself when you start to realize you're going a little bit crazy or doing things stupid. And it can be upsetting when like people around you tell you that you're like being insane. But like it was upsetting for me, because I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, this isn't even me. Like, what is going on? But you have to be willing to kind of accept that, and accept that it's a learning experience as well, and move on from it, because the mental aspect of prep does definitely kick in at some point, and you just think differently.
I think like one good side of it is, I don't know about you, I feel now extremely self-aware because of that prep. Like any kind of issues, say if I have something off, something like simple as that, I'm literally like, I can tell, like, or even my mood, I can literally sit there. We've had this conversation like over the past couple of days, right? I can literally sit there and be like, I'm not okay today. Something's not right. I'm okay that I'm not okay, and I'm just going to allow that. I'm just going to ride that wave, but I know that something's not right. So and I think that does come from prep, because regardless of your mood, you still do absolutely everything, right? And I think that then allows you to almost dissociate your mood with your action. And I think that is how you then become so self-aware, because you're able to separate it completely.
And you can control that. And that's why I'm glad that my first prep was a very big learning experience. And I actually did a post about this as well. So like anyone who's listening, who's maybe doing their first prep or is going to do their first prep, accept that as a learning experience. It will be a massive, massive learning experience. If you are trying very hard to be like, I'm not going to do anything wrong with this prep, like it's going to be perfect, I don't need to worry about it. Like, I thought I was like that because I was so regimented in my off season. I was like, there's no way that prep's going to break me. To be honest, it didn't break me in terms of I didn't struggle at any point to do the things that I had to do, but I learned a lot about the way that my brain works and how to mentally go through something where you're so focused on a goal, because it puts a lot of pressure on yourself, and you learn a lot about that. And I think if I'd have been more open to the fact that you know, this is my first prep. I'm going to learn a lot about myself this prep. There's no pressure on myself. There's going to be challenges, but accept those challenges and allow them to be something that you can learn from, rather than trying to push the challenges away and just be this like superhero who can just get
like
it
perfect in absolutely everything.
And if I'd have accepted it a little bit more, I probably would have dealt with it a little bit better, or
maybe enjoyed it a little bit more.
Enjoyed it a bit more, like I did towards the end when I enjoyed it. I knew what it was. So yeah, that's probably like a big bit of advice that I would give for anyone who's doing their first prep when it comes to dealing with the mental side of it. Just be kind of aware of that, and it'll help you so much in the future. Like we both said, it's helped us massively in our off seasons now. But kind of leading on from that, unless you've got anything else you want to say on that specific point, I want to talk about how your relationships can also be like affected because of that as well. Because it does affect relationships quite a lot. Like
friendships, relationships,
whoever that,
family,
like your family, your partner, your friends, whatever. Because even though you don't care, it massively does impact the other people around you. And that's something that you do kind of need to be aware of in a way, and learn how to manage that, because when you come out of the prep, you're like, oh
yeah. And I also feel like you also need to cut them a bit of slack as well, because I think we get so robotic about it that we go into kind of like, don't care, I'm going to do what needs to be done, get everything done, and you almost disregard their feelings, which can be quite difficult. Obviously, there are quite a few segments that we can dive into here. So I guess firstly would be like family. So how were your family about it, and how did your relationship change there?
To be honest, I sounds quite horrible, but I spent a lot of my prep away from my family, because I just chose to distance myself, to be honest.
Did they have any opinions on it though?
Not massively, because obviously I wasn't really around them and they didn't really say much, and they kind of know what I do, but they're not too bothered. As I said, the only thing they really struggled with was actually seeing me get lean. But I think I did live with my mum for like the last, I think it was 6 weeks of my prep. And I think at some point she saw me a bit crazy, and she used to take my check-in pictures every morning. And she used to see me like check in when I was literally like 44 kilos. And I was like, oh my God, I look fat. Like I've got so much left to come off. And she'd be like, Loz, like, are you joking me? Like, I'm worried about you. Like she didn't like to see that. And I think that it didn't necessarily like damage our relationship massively, but I probably took a lot of things out on her sometimes. And I wasn't my usual self. So I think that was just hard for her to see, but it didn't necessarily cause like any conflict or anything like that. I had a little bit of conflicts like with my dad's side of the family, because I go to like visit them, and to be honest, like when I was like 2 weeks out and I wasn't allowed to do any steps, because like he was like, you need to rest, like otherwise you're just going to wither away. My dad would be like, you need to come round, you need to visit us, and you need to see like your brother and stuff. And I'm like, I really want to do that, but I can't come out on a walk with you. Like I can't. And then I just did it anyway, because like they didn't understand, and I was like, it's not worth the stress. And it's very hard to find that balance when your family maybe don't understand why you're not doing certain things. You're not really in the mindset to have to educate them about the whole thing. So the last thing
you're too exhausted to even want to get out your bloody flip chart.
But then you have to do this thing to take you closer towards your goal. So it can be very conflicting in that sense, which is why I think most people just avoid it, and why I tried to avoid it a lot of the time, because it was just easier. But at the same time, I didn't want to be like the daughter who just avoids her family when she's on prep. So it's a difficult one in trying to get your family to understand, but then also not creating conflict. So I struggled a little bit in that sense, but I did avoid it for the most part. So I never had like a massive amount of conflict with my family as such. It was like more my other relationships, to be honest.
Okay. Like what? Like who?
So like with my friends, for example. So I obviously trained with Meg throughout like most of my prep. And like I told you, like it took the people around me to tell me that I was going insane to like chill out. So like there was a point where like Meg wouldn't mind me saying this, but Meg actually told me, she was like, I can't train with you because you just like crazy. Like this is where I'd literally be like crying in my sessions. Because I was just not, I was putting so much pressure on myself and I just wasn't in a good mental state. My mental state's like a little bit fragile, like anyway, sometimes. So just a bit heightened. Because everything gets heightened when you're on prep. So like she had to tell me, but to be honest, like that's something that I wanted. Like
that probably gave you like that. Gave you that almost like reality of like wake up, like,
but like the way that you act around like your friends and people in the gym, like they do notice it and people notice it. And at the end of the day, it's not just about you. That's like why I made that IGTV the other day about training partners and kind of said how you need to realize that it's not just about yourself. Like when you're in your prep, you become very selfish, but it's not just about you. It's about people that are around you. And that makes a huge difference. And also throughout a lot of my prep, I was in a relationship with somebody who didn't bodybuild.
Okay.
Yes, they trained, but they didn't bodybuild. So that made it really hard at times. So I think I was very, very, very stressed throughout a lot of my prep.
I'm listening to this. I'm literally listening to you thinking like, like stress. So
stress. Oh my God. Like I look back and I'm like, holy shit. Like I was so stressed. Like no wonder I looked the way that I did at the end.
You looked like stringy stress.
That's what happens. Like, and it's just mad that I was so stressed all the time.
That is actually a very key point. Like the more you stress, the more that it does show on your body. And I've even been discussing it with some of the girls that have stepped on stage already this year, that it's just completely hindered their progress and it's ruined it for them, like not just their stage experience but their physique. So try chill out.
Seriously, big tip, do some like mental development throughout your prep.
Massively.
Like really practice like positive affirmations, like positive podcasts, like really work on your mind a lot. Because
journaling saved me, like for me to be able to just get whatever was in my head written down, like then I'd be able to like almost get it out of my head, put it on a piece of paper and then carry on the rest of my day and be like I'm done now. Almost a little mini therapy session with myself.
So big thing there, stress, manage your stress in a prep, because that's one thing that I wish I'd have done. And you'll look drastically different. You'll probably have to do less well because your body will respond so much better. Like stress is the biggest thing that impacts everyone with everything. Your weight loss, your digestive system, your performance, your mental health, like everything.
I think that's going to be a big one for me this time round, I think, because I was always that person like more is best. Like if I had a step goal, I'd do like double, I'd always be out. I'd always be trying to just do more. And I think that is a massive reason to why I looked the way I did. Because my body, even though I wasn't necessarily stressed like yourself, like mentally, my body was so stressed.
And also you don't realize that because you're just happy cracking on with it. And this is a big thing about being self-aware, because your coach can't help you if he doesn't know what you're actually going through. But if you're so used to being stressed all the time, or you're so used to putting your body through that stress and it doesn't affect you, you might say like that stress is like it's only a 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. It might actually be an 8, but you've never been down at a 0, so you don't know what that feels like. So you need to be honest with your coach so that they understand. Like for example, I was doing like quite a lot of cardio at one point and my weight wasn't really moving, but I was not responding well to that because it was putting me in a stress state. But I was just saying like, it's fine, don't care.
It's absolutely fine.
Don't care. But once we removed that, my body responded so much better. But like he didn't know that because I didn't tell him. I told him I was fine. So yeah, that's another thing about being self-aware. But we were actually talking about relationships.
Yeah.
Do you want to like touch on whether you experience anything with that?
So I mean, I lived with my mom throughout my first prep, and I've always been an extremely independent person anyway. So we've never had a kind of relationship. My mom's never had to say, like, where are you going? What are you up to? Because I'm literally, I'm a good girl. You know. So no, she's never had to worry about it. So it was kind of like I just carry on doing what I do, regardless, whether that was studying, whether that was training, like throughout my whole life. So my mom did obviously get involved because I used to her everything. When I started to really lose weight, like after my first show, you know, when I started to get lean, we had probably weekly conversations of like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because she was just naturally worried. I wouldn't actually say that. Oh, actually, looking back, we definitely had quite a lot of conflict because of the way I was, but because I did really practice being self-aware, say I snapped at her, I would actually go to her like not even 2 minutes later and be like, wow, I am actually so sorry. Like, I understand that was completely irrational. That was not fair. I know that you were actually just, you know, looking out for me, XYZ. And I think that's really important, being able to look at yourself, your behavior, and then be like, you know what, that wasn't actually okay, and actually apologizing for it. Because there are going to be times when you snap, because your hunger, like because your hormones, like because of everything, and so you are going to snap, and you need to almost be able to just own up to it, just say, I was in the wrong there, that's not okay, how I spoke to you isn't okay. And I think because I was able to do that, she did not necessarily let it slide, but it was a lot more accepting of it, because I was also taking 5 seconds. There was this one time when I was training, I'd got back from training and it was a bad session, like horrific session, and she was having a go at me for like not washing up or something, and I screamed at her, like I literally was like, get out, and I was like, who the fuck?
Oh no.
I was like, who was that? I actually like burst out crying, and I was like, I don't know who that was. I am so sorry. So I don't know, because I did, I did keep myself to myself with that. Like my mom never had to do any meal prep for me. She never had to do food shopping for me. Like it was never an issue. We just stayed in the same house. I think the hardest thing for me was colleagues. Because obviously, I was working in a pharmacy at the time, and I started that role like the October before, and so I was heavier, like a lot heavier, probably 70 kilo maybe. So within that time of working there, I went from 70 to 51. So they literally saw me just wither away. And obviously even though they're health professionals, like they're the type of people that would have pot noodle for lunch, and that was substantial. So having some kind of conversation with them about anything about health, it just never went down well. Let alone me saying no to a biscuit, and they'd be like, you know the phrase, oh, but it's only one.
Mate, tell me about it. Going to visit your nan on prep.
Oh my god. So I went to visit my nan last weekend, right? And she was like, oh, we've got some like cakes in the fridge. I was like, no, I told you, like I'm back on prep now, I've got my competition. She was like, yeah, I know, but you know, I'll do anything to get you off that. I was like,
my nan really doesn't get it. Like every time I go round, she's so scared. She's like, I went round in a top, and by the I mean, I kind of like it because like I think I'm really small, but I was wearing a t-shirt and she was like, oh, look at you. I was like, what?
Tell me I'm disgusting. Tell me.
She's like, I'm worried about you. I'm worried that you're gonna get all these big muscles. I was like, yeah, me too.
I mean, when I was like really small as well, actually, after we're doing one of my shows, I showed my nan and granddad a photo of me on stage.
Yeah.
my granddad literally went, "That's disgusting."
Yeah, I've not shown her. She would literally, I think she'd had like a stroke or something. So I don't really
Well,
like it.
and then I showed my nan the routine, and she was like, "Oh, Hannah, that was beautiful." I was like, "Oh, so you like it?" She was like, "No, but that was beautiful."
It was bad.
So,
Like my dad's like couldn't watch it, and I feel bad as well because I did obviously did bikini as well, and
yeah,
you know we have to do all that like, in your
yeah,
ass and stuff. Like honestly, I don't blame him for
like
being a bit
cringing out. Just think, yeah.
yeah.
When one of my dad came to one of my shows, and my brother, but my brother is into fitness, to be honest. Like he does get it, that side of things. And I could just, when I was on stage, I could hear them like cheering for me, and I just was like, oh god, I'm in a bikini in front of my dad. Like my dad hasn't seen me in pajamas, let alone like literally never seen me out of like clothes. And when I go see him anyway, it's always in like scruffs.
Yeah, I just wear baggy clothes.
Yeah. I think he took me once. He dropped me off in town when I was like 18 or something, and I was dressed up, and he was literally like, when did that happen?
So then when he find it weird though, don't they? They find it weird.
Yeah, massively.
My dad said to me, he was like, because he likes to make comments on my weight. And he'll be like, so when I was prepping, he's like, you're so skinny, you look ill. I'm like, yeah, fair point. Then I get into off season. Like I went to visit him, like I remember at Christmas. So I was probably like 10 kilos like than I am now. He was like, God, you've got a bit fat. I was like, thanks.
Excellent.
And then he's like, he's like, your bum looks stupid. He's like, it's not. He's like, it's not meant.
Stop looking at my arse.
Yeah, no, he's like, it's not meant to look like that. I was like, why are you looking?
Yeah.
At least my glutes growing. Looks ridiculous.
You know what though? That was probably one of the comments that I absolutely couldn't stand when I was at work. Say if obviously there was quite a few patients as well that I'd like get to know. It was like, oh, you look skeletal. You look like death. Right. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. But yeah, but anyway, it doesn't really matter about like, I guess, strangers' opinions. Obviously when you are with colleagues, like you do have to maintain that professionalism, so I would have to genuinely do that whole sit and nod and smile and like, yeah, it is just one, but I'm not going to explain to you why just one is actually important. So yeah, no worries though.
Not worth the energy. It's not worth the energy getting on it, honestly. It's not.
No, and there are always going to be people's opinions, like you say, both sides of the spectrum. It's going to be like, you're too skinny, you're too fat. Like unfortunately human beings are absolutely horrible, and they feel like they've got the privilege, the audacity to actually have an opinion on your body, which I will never understand.
And the thing is, you'll get to a point where anyone talking to you will annoy you. Like you go to the gym, people are like, how are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling fine. Yeah.
I feel the exact same since the last time you asked me.
And funnily enough, I'm a week less out than last week when you asked me.
I don't ask anyone. Like if I see anyone prep, I'll never ask them how they're feeling. Like I'm really conscious of it at the moment, so I'll just like ask them like how the session's been. I'm like, how's your session, or like something like that. I just, because I know how annoying it is. Like so annoying.
I didn't even think about that, you know. I'm definitely going to make sure that I don't do that.
I literally don't ever ask AJ how he's feeling, ever. I definitely did, like, because obviously I was with him at the end of his last prep.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all the time I was like, you okay? You okay? You okay? I think he'd
be like
push me in front of
him.
So
well, yeah, I think obviously that is where we have an almost quite differing experiences as well, because through your prep you had a partner, and then you've obviously now got a partner that does also prep, whereas I mean I was dating someone for a short amount of time through my prep, but I have got that, I don't even know what to call it. I guess it's a great thing, really. I can be as selfish as I want right now, because I live on my own. I don't have a partner at all.
Yeah.
I'm not chatting to actually I got asked on a date yesterday, just saying. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, because there's absolutely no one that I need to consider in my life.
Yeah.
So you know what? If I want to lie on that settee right now and be as miserable as fuck, then I can.
Yeah.
So it's great.
And like in prep, that is nice because like you say, that was something I've struggled with, because I mean, like I get why it didn't work, because obviously if you're not into bodybuilding yourself, you're not going to get it. But as a bodybuilder, it's so hard. Like I wasn't allowed to like wake up to do my cardio and like just shit.
Yeah, so this is the difficulty that I'm kind of facing at the minute. So when people do ask me like, oh, you know, even if it's to like go round, I'm there like, so if I stay over, I have to be up at X amount of time at o'clock, because I've got to do you have a bike at your house? Can I do my cardio at your house? like these things, it just doesn't work, does it?
No.
I'm there like, so I'm gonna leave as soon as I wake up so I can go home and weigh myself. Is that okay? Also, and then they're like, oh, shall we go out for that? So yesterday when someone asked me on a date, he was like, firstly, how he approached me was, oh, babes, actually he called me Flower, let's vomit together. Yeah, he was like, oh, Flower, when are we going to train? I was like, we're not, hun. We're not going to train. He was like, what? Why? I was like, I don't train with anyone. And he was like, why not? And I was like, I know this is going to sound strange, but at the end of the day, every single session counts to me. Every single session is going to determine what I look like next time I step on stage. He was like, oh, you know what? I get that. I respect that. I do. And he was like, so should we go for a drink then? I was like,
no. Can't even go for a walk, mate. I've done my steps.
Yeah. Oh, shame. Yeah, I'll like get halfway around. So I'm just going to sit down now because I've hit my goal. Or you can carry me, either or. It's like, oh yeah, should we go for a drink? And I'm literally like, yeah, I'd love that. Let's go for a drink. He was like, what about some food? I was like, no, I'll bring my own though. Like going out for a drink, that's absolutely fine. If I sit there with a diet lemonade, if that affects you, that is your issue.
Yeah.
You know, that's not my issue. I will enjoy this lemonade.
Oh my God, honestly, that's the worst thing, is like, I don't care if I have to go out and take my own food and sit, but why are you sat there being
why does it upset
they're
you?
sat there and they're like, oh God, are you going to eat that? You're going to eat that? Oh my God. Like, I'm actually fine, you know, it's you that's bothered. If you just chill out, there's not an issue.
I found that was the biggest thing. Like, say if I went out with anyone, actually fair play to some of my friends, some of my family, like they were so good about it. They just wouldn't mention it. So you'd sit there, you'd get your Tupperware out and you'd carry on having normal conversation. And it was that, you know, but there was some people and they'd literally, you'd get the Tupperware out and everyone's eyes, they'd be looking at you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And that is what makes it awkward. Me actually doing it, I don't care. But it's the people, they're almost like looking around embarrassed, you know?
Yeah, there's some scenarios where I wish I hadn't have done that, because before, not on prep, but like, so before I did my prep, I used to like do a pretend prep. So I'd do like 12-week diets like in a year, and I wouldn't eat anything off my plan. So this is like when I'm just like when I was like at school. And I remember like going out for my friend's birthday, and I could have so easily just like eaten something off the menu.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have mattered. And I literally emailed the restaurant and told them I had like dietary like problems.
Right. I always tell them I've got diabetes.
Yeah. I had to bring my own food. And I literally sat there while all my friends were having food, and I just had like some chicken and lettuce. And like, what? I just looked back and I'm like, oh my God. Like fair play to them to not like for not caring, but like at the time I didn't need to do that. I just didn't.
I mean,
when you're on prep, you need to do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, that just came to my mind. It kind of cringed a little bit. I just think, oh
yeah, I'd be embarrassed if I was you.
Dreadful.
It's okay.
Yeah, but people around you can impact a lot of things for sure.
Yeah,
a lot. So
But at the same time, it can actually be really good. Like, for example, for I'm guessing you and AJ now, say if AJ is absolutely bushwhacked and he's sitting on the settee, he's like, you know what, I can't move. You may potentially, I don't know, go do his meal prep for him, you know. I don't would you? Oh, you do it every day? Oh my God, cute. So whereas I know that I literally have to get in and I have to do my meal prep for myself. I know that I have to get in and do my washing up. I have to do my actual washing. I have to do this. There is no one to share those responsibilities.
Everyone's fine doing that themselves. And it's like, he always says that, like, when I do stuff for him, he's like, it's nice that you do it, but I can do it. He knows that he could do it himself if he had to.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, so I don't know, there's like people at the gym that are like this couple and they are actually quite cute. And say he's having like a shit day and he's just about to go home, and like, yeah, she's messaging like, yeah, don't worry, hun, like your dinner's ready for when you walk in. Like, that's cute. That's nice. That's nice. Whereas I've got to fucking
there is difference doing it like on your own. I think you learn a lot, like doing preps on your own. I actually think that's why a lot of people, when they do like their first preps, their relationship doesn't go well. Like, it happens to so many people.
I think you either grow together or you grow completely apart, and you just realize you're completely separate people.
Yeah, I know so many people who've had that experience, because either way you basically feel like you do like your first prep by yourself. Because if you're with someone that it's not right with, you're basically doing the prep like all on your own anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mad, like the amount of people that I've spoken to that have had like those experiences.
I guess.
Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, I guess as well, like sometimes being with someone isn't always great because your hormones change. Obviously, as a female, like, yeah, your hormones drastically change. We can try and maintain them as much as possible, right? Like through your dietary fats, etc., and doing quite a slow prep instead of like but your periods are going to go, your sex drive is going to go. So if you are in a relationship, that can also put a big strain on. Also, your body image can get so fucked that you just don't feel sexy. So it's like, then
oh my God,
if you don't want to have sex, like if you don't want to have sex, right, with your partner, or because your hormones, your body image and everything's a bit messed up, they then take it personally.
It's the way you feel about your body. Like, I literally felt like a child because I had no ass, I had no boobs.
No, I was just thinking, I've literally just got an image in my head. I remember trying to take a nude and it was so funny because there was
you may as well not bothered.
You know what, I might send it to you in a bit because it's so funny. I'm there like really trying to bend to get some kind of ass, and it was so funny.
Yeah, it's dreadful. There's just nothing there. Like, literally.
Oh, I'm crying.
There's nothing. There's nothing that makes you feel like a woman. Like, seriously.
No, not at all. No,
it's funny, but it's not funny at the time. It's really not funny at the time.
At the time, you're literally looking at yourself like, bro.
I remember just like laying in the bath and just looking at myself, and I'm like, I could just like float. Like, there's just nothing here.
If I stay in here a bit too long, maybe the osmosis, and I'll just grow some tits.
Fill out. Get water retention.
Please.
Oh my God, it comes back though. That's the best bit about off season.
Yeah.
I was like, as soon as I started to get like a bit of like shape on my body, feel like an actual like girl. It's so nice.
Yeah, for sure.
But to be honest, I mean, before we start to talk about all sorts of nonsense, I think we've actually covered like some good like topics relating to prep, and we've not like baffled on for like too long, because we kind of talked about the stress side and then the relationship side, which honestly like is a big thing, like stress management and relationship management throughout prep. So it's been nice for us to cover that, and I think that we can do more episodes as well, like talking about body image side of things and really like the whole hormonal side as well. We can properly delve into that as well. So equally, if anyone has anything specific they want us to talk about, because we can talk about training, we can talk about the nutrition side, you know, there's loads and we could go on forever. But I think that's been a nice, like, concise topic for us to talk about today, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely love that. I think a lot of people will need to hear it. You know, both sides, like maybe a little bit of motivation for them, but also that harsh reality, you know. So we've covered a hell of a lot actually. So I really hope that it's been useful. And as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for getting this far.
Thanks for listening, guys. We always appreciate everyone that listens, and hopefully we're going to have some good episodes to come. We're looking to get some good guests on as well for you, to bring some informative episodes across as well. But as always, thank you so much to listening to us talk, and we'll be back again next week.